This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Now we're going to have a bit of interaction in the webinar tonight. I'm going to ask you some questions. So we'd like to find out where you're watching this from this evening. We could just type that into your chat bubbles. I'm in Dorrigo, an hour west from Coffs Harbour. And Ryan, where are you?
I'm in Coffs as well.
No, Karen's saying that we sound like muffled chipmunks, so that's no good. Might have to send you the recording. Christine's from Valor. Got Sawtell. I know that Karen is from a place up north called Condong. I'm glad Christine can hear us fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much for sharing that with us, guys. The next question that we're curious about when we talk to people that want to become foster carers is, how long have you thought about being a foster carer or thought about foster care? I know some people think about it for a long time and others not so long. Sometimes people see an ad and think about, I've been thinking about that for a long time, and it prompts them. Thanks for that. Okay, so a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we're going to be talking about, who is Life Without Barriers? What is foster care? Where are more foster carers needed? Are there different types of foster care? Can you tell me about children in care? Stories from care? Who can be a carer? Our most frequently asked questions, and lastly, where to from here? So, who is Life Without Barriers? Life Without Barriers started in about 1995 in Newcastle, and they just looked after people with disabilities. So it was a very small organisation. So over the years it has grown. We now support children in foster care, in kinship care. Once again, people with disabilities, people from refugees and asylum seekers. And we also, it's a bit hard, I don't see my screen, but we also support people with from the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. So this is an interesting question that I'd like to ask you. How many children are currently in care in Australia? And if you'd like to type your guess into the chat box, that'd be great. Okay, does anyone want to take a guess? It's sometimes a number.
Yeah, we got thousands, 12,000, unsure.
Okay, let's go to the next slide and see how many children are in care. So there are nearly 50,000 children unable to live safely at home in Australia, and that's why we're always looking for foster carers. I'll just show you. So where are we looking for foster carers and where are they needed? The answer is everywhere. This you'll see is a map of Australia with how many children in care in each state. As you'll see in New South Wales, there's just over 16,000 children in care. Does that surprise people here that are listening to the webinar? If you just want to pop it into the chat, that's fine as well. Okay, I'm going to talk about the different types of foster care. Now, there are 5 different types of foster care that you can apply for, but you don't have to do just one either. So respite care is for children who need a break from their they may need a break, but their carers may need a break as well for many different reasons. So a primary carer may need some time in hospital, for example, and so a respite care will be needed for a short time. Emergency or crisis care, so that's for carers that can be more flexible, because it's most usually on a Friday afternoon that Ryan and I are going to get a call that we need to find emergency care for a young person. That can be for a night, it can be for the weekend, or sometimes it can be over the weekend, or for a short period of time, for maybe a week. Okay, short to medium term foster care. So when children come into care, they are usually come in with orders for restoration back to family where as possible. So short-term care can be from 6 months up to 2 years. And those foster care carers also work with birth families where it's safe to help restore those children back to their family. Then we have kinship foster care. So if a child is removed, we would hopefully try and find a close family member or somebody that's close to that family so that they can look after the children for a short period of time. That helps to avoid the trauma of living in an unfamiliar environment. And then there's long-term foster care. So long-term foster care is when a child is removed and not expected to return back to their family, or is unable to for there's many reasons. So foster carers are then looking towards looking after that children to adulthood, and in foster care that age is 18. Okay, so what is our organisation's approach to foster care? So Ryan, I might get you to help me do this one if you don't mind, because my screen is very hard to see all of this. Do you mind describing these 6 principles of care?
Okay, so the first one we've got is relationship based. So these 6 principles are how we look to work with the kids that we work with and the families and the carers. So we're always looking for a relationship between the birth parents, the carer, the kids, other family members, professionals. Developmentally focused is thinking about how we're meeting the kids' needs. Is it appropriate? Are we meeting them at their age and stage? Those kinds of things. So it could be looking at physical or education, things like that. Trauma informed. So it's quite popular now and important that we recognise most of the kids we care for have some types of developmental trauma. So we need to be able to adjust the way we care for them to be incorporating trauma-informed practice and modifying like things we do with the kids to support them to build attachment. Family involved, which is really you become part of a bigger family really with these kids. You're going to be with us, you're going to be with the kids, you're going to be with their parents as well, or grandparents or friends. So we do look to make sure that everyone's involved in the process. Competency centered around making sure they're going to get the skills for life and the ways you can help support the kids to be able to achieve what they want to do. That's all right. And ecologically orientated, essentially the environment. I mean, we're looking to make a caring and supportive environment for these kids, and what can we do to make that happen? Like, what do they need? What supports can they get in place? What sort of things can they do? Because they may have come from an environment that wasn't very nourishing sometimes, and they might not have had the caring early on in life. And we're trying to find ways to make that happen for them as well. And it might be just even ways that we're trying to change the environment to give them a bit of a challenge too. If they want to, if they're getting into the teenage years and they need to sort of think about the future and stepping out, like how can we make that happen too? Does that help?
Exactly. Yeah, that helps. Thank you. So what can you tell me about children in care is a question that we get asked quite often. So there are many reasons why children come into care. The children coming into care are aged between 0 and 17 years. They come from a range of culturally different backgrounds and have families who are also important to them. So children in care have all suffered from trauma of some sort. So you can just imagine how they must feel when they're removed from their family. That feeling of loss is also a part of trauma as well. So some children have also been physically and emotionally or sexually abused. Others have witnessed domestic violence, and some may have been neglected, not given the care and support that they need to develop and grow. Now, with the coronavirus happening at the moment, there's a lot more children at home with their parents, and we're expecting a spike in children that may need care. There could be a lot more feelings that are intensified in homes because of loss of incomes, maybe an increase in domestic violence as well, which is unfortunate. So what's the most important role of foster carers? So we need carers with attributes that can care for children and provide a safe environment. So what I'm encouraging you to do is have a look at our website if you haven't already. Listen to our carers' stories and children that have excelled in foster care. And you can hear firsthand how they're going, how their experiences have been. When we do our face-to-face meetings, and I'll be doing this next for our next webinar, we'll invite a foster carer to come along and have a chat to you and talk about their experiences with children and why they love being a foster carer, and maybe sometimes why they don't love being a foster carer. Now, who can be a carer? So it's likely that you can be a foster carer. Now, this may sound a bit corny, but you can make a difference in a child's life. So let's have a look what we need to know about you to be a foster carer. You must be over 18 years of age with relevant life experience. You should be well and healthy, have a regular source of income. You can come from any cultural background. You can be single or in a relationship, and you're willing to undergo background checks. And in saying that, that is our criminal record check, health checks, working with children checks, referee checks, for example. And a little bit about your home and family. You can have children or you can be without children. You can rent or own your own home, have a spare room, and everyone in your family is active and willing to foster. So I'm just going to go through some of our most frequently asked questions. So about you. Some of the questions we get is, I'm single, can I foster? And the answer is yes. About 50% of our foster carers are single. Families come in all shapes and sizes, as you know, and so do our foster carer families. We're a same-sex couple. Can we foster? Of course you can. What is most important to us when we're looking for a carer is that you're able to provide a stable, loving home to children and young people. So can you foster even though you don't have your own children? Now that's a good question, because sometimes you won't have experience with children, but through the assessment process with Ryan or Hayley, who is our other carer assessor, we'll talk about what skills you do have and what skills you might need to brush up on or develop, and we'll recommend training for you. And then we'll look at the needs and the level of children in care that would be best suited to your skills and experience. Okay, so great foster carers have. Can you read those out for me, Ryan? I've lost my screen.
Patience and understanding. Thanks for being patient with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And availability. It's not necessarily availability in the sense you're home all day. I mean, we do have carers that are still working and caring as well. If there was kids with higher needs, it might be better if you were around more in that case. Commitment. Yeah, we're really looking for carers that can be with our kids for a long time. It's nothing worse for them to have placements that don't work out, or things like stability is really what we're looking for these guys, because they've never had it, or they might not have experienced stability in the past. Flexible approach. Yeah, you know, all different types of carers we need. So, you know, but you also need to be able to work with us, with case managers, you know, with parents as well. So being a bit flexible is really good. Time to give. You know, if you're, I guess, working like 12-hour days and you're busy on the weekends, you might not have enough time in your life to look at fostering at the moment. And a commitment to maintaining and strengthening family relationships, which is really important for us to be able to support our kids to connect with their families and with yourself and your family too. So all those things are really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just we touched on this before. Do I need to have a spare room? Yes, you definitely need to have a spare room for a child. That helps them feel safe and secure in your home and in the family as well. Do I have to own my own home to be a foster carer? No, you can own your own home. You can definitely be renting or in public housing. But if you are renting, just make sure that you might need to seek approval for an extra person in your home. Can I have my own children and foster? Yes, definitely. A lot of our carers do have their own children. So when Ryan or Hayley will come out to meet you, they'll talk to your whole family about the process and ask for your children's input into the assessment process as well. So depending on their age, if they're a little bit older, we'll ask them about your parenting techniques, maybe any discipline that's used at home. And younger children are asked to maybe draw a picture of what's so great about their family. So that's how everybody is involved in the process. I'm sure if you want to start the application process, you would have already spoken to your family to make sure that they're all on board with the process. Okay, how are children matched to foster carers? So through the assessment process, we will talk to you about what you think first of all, what would suit your family, what would suit your skills, and what you feel confident with. You know, a lot of our carers start off saying they just want to do respite care. They want to just test the waters, see how they go. And then they may turn to short-term and long-term carers, or they might just stick with respite carers as well. So we look at the age of the children, and we will definitely be talking to you through the assessment process about what kind of care will suit you and what kind of children would suit your family as well. So that is also part of the age and the gender of the family as well. So you might want to talk a little bit more about that process, Ryan, because I'm not that familiar with the end of the process. When we come to the end of an assessment, what do we talk about with the carer about what they'll be approved for? Okay.
So I guess during the assessment, we usually get a pretty good idea of everything that's going on in your life and situation at home. We can usually you get to make a recommendation in the sense that I do as well about what would work for you. So if you're looking at doing longer term care, we'd look at that. If you just want to do respite, that's fine as well. Some people might only have like sort of space for emergency work in their life and they're not looking to do long term, so we can make those recommendations. We also do, you can look at the age of the kids that you would care for. We usually do authorizations now for 0 to 17, but then next to it, we put down the sort of thing that would work with your household. So we get to sort of nut out how that's going to look. Usually just talking with the kids and anyone else in the home, we can kind of feel that out as well. We'd also look at if you have capacity for higher needs too. Maybe you've got a background in disability work, or you're got a lot of skills with ADHD or something like that. Then we might put that in there as well. That you've got extra ability and extra skill sets in those regards, and that would help us as well.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, do children in care have ongoing relationships with their family? Yes, we've found from research that it's really important for children in care to have a relationship with their family. And we help foster carers to facilitate that as well. And that can come in different ways. When it's safe to facilitate family contact, we will organise family contact with parents, aunties, uncles, other siblings, face-to-face contact. Sometimes that will be unsupported, or sometimes it's supported by family contact workers. Other forms of contact with family could be encouraged by phone calls, emails, sending photos to family members. But remember also that we put in a lot of support for you to do that with case managers as well. So another question is, what happens if the placement isn't working out? So if a placement isn't working out, we need foster carers to be able to talk to us, and we will put in supports to see if that placement can be saved, first of all. I don't know if saved is a great word, right?
Supported?
But we'll put in supported, thank you. Yeah, we just don't want kids bouncing around from family to family. So it's really important that we do that matching in the first place. And it's really important for foster carers to know they do have the support of our care team and the support of our clinicians, which are now called therapeutic specialists.
Permanency specialists.
Permanency specialists, thank you. So one of the other questions is, how long does the assessment process take? So I know some people have been thinking about becoming a foster carer for some time. If you get on board usually and you are committed, that was another word that Ryan spoke about before. It takes commitment to become a foster carer and during the assessment process. So it can take about 4 to 5 months for the assessment stage. So the initial inquiry stage is what you're all doing this evening. It used to be a home visit. At the moment, we can do a virtual tour of your home, but eventually, before you become a foster carer, we will need to come out to see your home and do a housing inspection. But we are going to try and do that virtually at the moment. I'm also sending out application forms and information packs to you via email, so we can fill out application forms and do electronic signatures in the meantime. Once your application is in to Ryan or Hayley, we can start the assessment process. The assessment process is also done virtually at the moment via Teams, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, or also, I think that's what we've been doing, isn't it, Ryan? Teams at the moment?
Teams or Zoom, it works at the moment.
Okay, and that assessment process is usually a visit of 6 to 8 times with you. The appointments go for about 2 hours. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, I find people can't talk about themselves for longer than 2 hours. They get a bit tired. But yeah, unless it's, there's a lot going on, it can go a bit longer, but 2 hours seems to be a good amount of time to get through each section.
That's right.
Yeah, there's 5 sections to the assessment, covering a whole lot, all different facets of your life, your parenting skills, your background, a bit of your life history, your experiences, your education and other things like that. So it is a bit invasive in that regard. It does go into a lot of your life.
Yeah.
But it helps us make sort of decisions on what will be the best fit for your family and how we can go forward.
That's right. So after the assessment has been written up, we will give it to you to prove that we have heard your story correctly. We can make any changes at that time as well as you work with the assessor if anything is incorrect. And then the assessment is given to a panel of Life Without Barriers managers, and they collectively then make the decision on whether you're approved or not and what kind of approval that you'll have for children as well, based on the assessment.
Yeah, I'd just add too that I don't think you'd go through 4 months of assessment and not know if you were going to make it by the end. I think if we had big concerns or there was issues going on, you'd know earlier in the piece. So don't think about committing to like 4 months on maybe not getting there. We have a discussion all the way through as we go. So we wouldn't put you through that process needlessly, really.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Ryan. Okay, another question is commonly asked is, what support will I receive as a carer? So as a carer, sometimes you're going to need to be able to ask for help. So we offer training. We can do that online, or usually we will be doing it face-to-face as well. We have an on-call support line that is available to you 24/7. We offer a financial reimbursement. Our specialist support, if we can't at Life Without Barriers give you the support that you need, we'll recommend other professionals. So respite care, if you're needing a break, if you're suffering a bit of burnout, or you need a break for any kind of reason. And also we're at the moment encouraging carers to form peer relationships and carer networking, because sometimes the best form of support that I think that you can get is from other carers that may have experienced what you're going through as well, and they're happy to talk about what they did to get through things as well. So I'm really excited to talk about the Mockingbird family, because we are just implementing that in the Coffs Harbour region at the moment. We also have it implemented in Newcastle. So what we have done is we've employed a carer that was a respite emergency carer as our hub home provider. Her and her partner have got a beautiful welcoming home, and they are like the grandparents of the constellation. The constellation consists of 5 other groups of carers, and they have 13 children in the constellation, ranging from, say, the age of 3 up to 16. So what they're doing at the moment is they're meeting once a week via Teams, just to have a chat to see how everybody's going, how they're coping at home, homeschooling, how they're coping with maybe behaviours of teenagers, being at home, what we can do to help. And we haven't had our grand launch yet because of COVID, but once we can all get back together, we'll be having a launch and a bit of a party at that home as well. So it's helping with trying to support placement breakdowns or placement changes by having that hub home. If a child is feeling like they need to get away from their carer or their family, they know that they've got a safe place to go to, rather than just running away somewhere to somewhere they don't know. They've got a safe place to go to. And the other children in this constellation, they also become part of their extended family. So we're really excited to get this going, and we're hoping that we will be able to extend this program further north as we go along and further south. That's what I forgot to mention as well, the areas that we cover. So Ryan, Haley and I, we cover from Tweed right down to just past Kempsey. So there's lots of other places if you want to continue the conversation about foster care to find more information. So I'd really encourage you to go to our website and look at those stories from other carers and children that have left care. You're most welcome to contact me. You've got my contact details, or our central inquiry team if I'm not available. I'm going to give you a link to a form tonight that I'd love you to fill out if you want to get started on the application process. I think that'll be on the next slide. Okay, there's the link there, but I'm going to also email it to you tomorrow as well. So we're going to just take this time. If you've got any questions, to pop into the chat and we'll have a look if we can answer any more questions that you've got this evening. And I'd like to welcome, so we've got a couple of other people that have popped in late, so I'd like to welcome you along. And if you want a copy of tonight's presentation, I'll be happy to email that to you as well.
I guess, Cassandra, your question. Yeah, I think with foster care, it's the same. We tend not to take on carers who are doing IVF, just because I guess if you do, like, for the kids in care, like, it can be a bit difficult if you're starting a new family and they're in your family as well at the same time. Yeah, it's a difficult one, but yeah, on a rule of thumb, we tend not to start off the foster care process if people are still actively doing IVF. Yeah.
I found that, I guess, a lot, say 12 months, which is a long time if you wait another 12 months and then another 5 months or 6 months to sort of get something started. And I guess that's what we wanted to double check, because we are still actively doing that, and I wouldn't put that on hold for anything else at the moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were still open to doing this as well, because at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, that's just something that I have found with a few different places, that it's a requirement. I think it's 12 months post completing, or yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I just want to double check and see.
Yeah, that's our that's part of our criteria as well, Cassandra.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, it's part of. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, it's all right.
What I was saying, it goes back to choosing the right time, and we've found that, you know, leaving it a year or 2 years after you've tried for your own children via IVF is probably, you know, so many things can happen in that time. So that's why we've made the organisation's made that decision.
Not a problem, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we also have the same kind of policy for people who have maybe had some kind of crisis in their life, like a death in the family or anything like that. We usually wait a little bit, like 6-12 months, just for grieving process to go through. And because we really need carers, the headspace is really focused on the kids. And if you're still sort of processing your own stuff, it can sort of like, can be challenging, especially if the kids are a bit challenging and your emotional energy is a bit low too. So we sort of make sure that people are really filling up to it at the right space. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Christine has a question for you, Ryan.
Okay. It varies, Christine, how much information we have. Sometimes if a child's coming into care for the first time, we might not know a lot about their situation, but you're entitled to ask as many questions and get as much information as you need to make a decision comfortably. We definitely wouldn't want you to have no information, like everyone needs to be on the same page. The only limitation to that could be that if the people who are working, because we place kids into placements with foster carers. We don't do any removal. That's our Departments of Communities and Justice, DCJ. So sometimes we're waiting for them to get information on the situation as well. That could be the only situation where we don't know a lot of things. It could be a bit of a work in progress. But yeah, we definitely can give you as much information as we can to make you feel comfortable. I mean, in the end of the day, you're going to know a lot about this child. You're going to be, there for them every day. So you need to know what's going on. Thanks, Cassandra.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Oh, sorry about that. We have the shared lives training that is part of the assessment process is happening next week. We're doing that via Zoom. So if anybody's interested, please send me an email and I can send you out an invitation to that. It's going to be run for 2 hours over 2 hours each night, so on a Tuesday and a Thursday night for 2 weeks. You don't have to have already applied to be a foster carer to do that training. So I think it'd be beneficial if you're thinking about it. A lot of people actually do it and then decide then again whether they want to apply to do the process. So if you want to take down that form as well, I hope that I hear from some of you as well. And I'd like to thank you all. Whoops, I'll just pop back down to there. Thank you all very much for attending tonight. Really appreciate it. And hope that we hear from you again soon and have a really good rest of the evening.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks everyone. I mean, we'll hang in for a bit if anyone has any questions that need time. So we'll hang around for a bit.
Oh. On my screen. That's all.
You can turn off record if you want, Marie.
Thank you. I could if I knew how to. Okay, I've done that. Okay, do we have any more questions from anybody tonight? Karen, I've got one for you, but I don't know whether you can hear me or not yet. I was wondering whether your husband is able to attend the training with us next week, whether he'll be working. Ah, fabulous. I think that's fabulous. I don't know, I can't see now. Brian, can you see the chat?
I
think
yeah,
that
I can
says
see
yes.
the chat. Yeah. Can't see an answer though.
Oh.
Other Zoom classes sent to our email account. Yes.
Okay. So Karen said probably not at this stage. Okay.
Recording. I'll stop recording. There you go.